and welcome back to another episode of FPL Squad Picks. It's game week 9. Thanks for joining me. We're going to take a little look in this video at some tips, transfers, team selection and captaincy to finish off as well. So let's jump in. If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. So first up we have my team from game week 8. Unfortunately I only ended up with 9 players starting. We did have a few people that were left out. So for the game week 8 I finished on 57 points, which surprisingly still managed to get me a green arrow. A very small green arrow of just over 2,000 places, but I'll take that being that I only had 9 players playing. So from game week 7 to 8 I did decide to roll a transfer. Wasn't really sure in what move I should make. There was a few doubts around sort of Jota, Rafinha, and we weren't sure about Alonso in terms of him getting transferred out for Chilwell. It was again uncertain if Soufal would be fit and ready for this game, and it saw them all miss out unfortunately. So looking back, I could have made some changes there that probably would have helped me through that week. But to be honest, I think the changes that I was looking at wouldn't have helped me that much in terms of attacking returns. So not too bad in rolling a transfer, and I still managed that green arrow even with the players that I had. So again, unfortunately, I did have Alonso as a no-show. Chilwell came in and he's done really well to start off as soon as he's been reintroduced into that Chelsea lineup. I do think there'll still be some rotation around, and it's a bit frustrating only that I was a bit late to get onto Alonso and only just recently brought him in. So I think that's one to look out for. I do think that if there is some rotation between Champions League and Cup games, that we might see some games for Alonso, but I'm not sure if it's enough to keep him through the next few game weeks. So he may be someone that I'm looking to potentially transfer out. And aside from the defensive assets doing really well this game week and Salah continuing to score, Greenwood has just kept ticking over. So thankfully he managed to up my score this game week by getting another attacking return, and I hope that obviously he will continue that form going forward. But again, he is someone that's on my sort of watch list to potentially transfer out over the next coming game weeks as Manchester United's fixtures get a little bit more difficult. So moving on to game week 9, we've got the fixture focus part of the show now. So here we have a colour-coded breakdown of the fixtures for this game week 9, and I've got a colour-coded key listed at the top right hand corner between attack, defence and hopefully a few goals within that fixture in blue. So without going through every fixture, a good indication is obviously shown across the colours that you can see there, but mainly if we focus in on the ones like Chelsea v Norwich, I think that's going to be a given that Chelsea should perform really well in terms of their attacking assets, and maybe get a clean sheet with that as well with their defensive assets. After playing in the Champions League, I'm not sure who's going to be rested and who's going to have a game in this fixture. This is recorded prior to that Champions League game, so I'm not sure what that starting lineup looks like yet, but that's certainly one to keep an eye on for this evening. There are a few fixtures after that I've highlighted in blue that could see a potential for goals both ways, so don't think there's a lot of choice really with defensive assets this game week. I think there's going to be quite a few goals leaked across all those fixtures in that middle section on the Saturday afternoon. Another good fixture to look at for potential for attacking returns would be the Man City fixture against Brighton. I do think this game would see that Brighton probably going to show up a good defensive effort, but unfortunately I think Man City have just got too much firepower to be totally kept at bay. Man City have also kept a really good amount of clean sheets, so I do think that they could have the potential to keep Brighton out with a clean sheet and also then get some attacking returns of their own. It's just to obviously guess who's going to get those attacking returns and who's going to play within that fixture, taking into consideration that Pep roulette. And finally within this fixture list, there's a few more there that I've coloured in blue. I do think there could be goals both ways on these fixtures. Brentford have been doing really well, and I think Leicester haven't shown the greatest of defensive fronts as they did last season. But I do think there could be goals across both teams. And finally up there then you've got the Manchester United and Liverpool fixture. Now I do think that a lot of people will be leaning toward the Liverpool assets, and I think quite rightly too as well. They've been much more the informed team, and they've been scoring a lot more goals and better in defence. But I think with that added rivalry, you could see Manchester United team turn up with the extra hype being at home as well. And obviously they are looking for some returns and some good wins, so I think they'll be definitely up for this fixture. It's just a case of if they can capitalise on that or not. If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. If you'd like to keep up to date with the latest video posts, locked in team selections and chat during the game week, then you can follow me on Twitter at FPL Squad Picks. So next up we have my team for the game week 9. I've done something a little bit different this game week. I've actually managed to record the screen live from the FPL website, and then we can have a quick look at some transfer options that I'm looking at this week. This week I've got 2 free transfers and 1.1 million in the bank, so I've got a fair few options that I could move to. Could just make the one transfer and roll that over to the next game weeks, or I could look to make the 2 transfers this game week and hopefully get a decent team out and not be in the same position as last week where I only had the 9 players starting. So this is my team as it currently stands, and I've got a few good options for this game week, but there are some holes to be plugged. Again, I've got Obafemi there, who's always bench fodder, but it is a bit annoying having someone that's not on a playing option at all. So we could look to upgrade him using that 1.1 million, which aren't too many obvious options at the moment. There's a few players that could be potentially good options to come in for him, but that would mean a little bit more funds needed. The other option up there, then we do have Sofal as a yellow flag. I do think that he'll return back for this fixture. Hasn't been too much news in terms of if he's fit and able, but he was rested in the last week, and I do hope that he'll be ready, fit to play for this game week coming. So we shouldn't have to worry about that option too much to be able to fix that move. The other option I was looking at, which was actually from last week, would be to downgrade Ronaldo to Lukaku in terms of price, which would save some more money. And also, given the fixture, this game week, Lukaku has Norwich. And I just think that Ronaldo I've stuck with, and unfortunately it doesn't look like that Man United team are getting the same goals as we originally hoped. So it is against Liverpool this week for United. It's going to be a tough fixture. There has been a lot of talk saying that they will play better against the bigger teams, and it's a big rivalry, so they'll tend to sort of step things up a little bit more. And it may also see them become that counter-attacking team where Liverpool will happily attack them and leave themselves a little bit more open at the back, so they won't have one of those teams where they've got a low block that they're trying to pick apart and pull in terms of getting some space. But I do think there's still going to be a struggle. I'm not sure if Ronaldo's going to be able to get those big scores that we're hoping, and the fixtures do change in terms of United's coming game weeks. I think they're going to be a little bit more difficult coming forward. So it just makes sense that it might be good time to get rid of him and switch in Lukaku. So if we do that move, that then shows I will now have 1.9 million left in the bank and a further free transfer. So as it goes, that could be the only move this game week, and I could get out a half-decent team with that. It would mean playing the 5 midfielders, Antonio and Lukaku up front, and then it would be between Azpilicueta, Alonso and Sofal. I don't know if Almaty's going to continue to keep his place in the defensive lineup, even though he did return last game week. And Duffy has had a difficult fixture this game week against the Man City team. Yep, so not seeing... They do have a decent defensive lineup there, and I've got Sanchez in goal already, so I wouldn't really want to double up. Sanchez may actually, even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, get some good save points for that game, so it's not going to be the end of the world having Sanchez in goal for that fixture. You just hope that he does make some saves, even if it is a sort of big score line or they lose that clean sheet, but you wouldn't want to chance it with a double up with Duffy as well. My only issue with that would be then if Alonso does play or not. Chilwell has returned to the team now and has been doing really well. This is actually being recorded before today's Chelsea game for the Champions League, so I'm not sure who's going to be starting there. So that'll give us a good indication really, because Chilwell has played the last 2 fixtures. Alonso's had a rest. If he does play in this game week now, Alonso, for the Champions League, I would think that probably it's going to be Chilwell back in for the Premier League, and they might do some sort of rotation between the two that way. But if Chilwell plays again, as much as it shows that he is probably the favourite option in terms of for Tuchel, against a Norwich team, he might want to give Chilwell a bit of a break and then bring Alonso in. That would be my sort of thinking. So if I see Alonso play this evening, I'd be less likely to think that he's going to start the Premier League game. But if he is benched this evening and Chilwell gets a game, it might be that I think Alonso might get that Norwich game. On paper, it's going to be an easier fixture for them to be able to get a win, and he might be happy with playing Alonso in a more attacking style and hopefully get some points that way. So in terms of other transfers to make, I do really like the Brentford team at the moment. I know that they have Leicester, but Leicester haven't been that solid defensive unit that they were of last season. They have been leaking goals, and Brentford have shown that even against some of the bigger teams, they've been able to put in really good performances. So with that extra money that I've got there in the 1.9, I could make a change for Obafemi out. That leaves me with 6.4, which is just enough to get Ivan Toney in. And that would leave me with nothing in the bank, no free transfers. And that gives you a really solid base there. So not so much for this game week, but certainly for next game week. The only issue with this is, as I described, my problems at the moment aren't really in the attacking options. Some of the fixtures are going to be quite difficult across my midfield players, but at least I know that they will probably get some good minutes. I've got more issues in my defensive lineup where if Alonso doesn't play, I'm not sure if Amati plays. Sofal is a warning, and then you've got Duffy against a really difficult fixture, so only Aston Laqueta is pretty much the only set player that I think might get a good amount of minutes out of that whole defensive lineup. And this just gives me a bit of a headache this game week, so I'd have to probably bench either Toney or maybe look to bench Jota or Greenwood in a fixture that they have against one another. And either one of those three, they've all got good potential to get some points this game week, so I wouldn't like to think that Toney sat on the bench is not going to score against Leicester, because if he does, and then Jota and Greenwood get some shared minutes but don't do anything, it's going to be a bit frustrating. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make that move this game week, but that's certainly one I'll be looking at for the future, even before next week, because Brentford's fixtures get really good in the coming game weeks. So if I go back to Obafemi, and that again brings me back to the 1.9 million and another free transfer. Sticking with the theme of Brentford, I could actually switch out one of the midfield players for Mbeumo for Brentford. So if I just go and see where he is on here. Is he on that first lineup? Yeah, there he is there, 5.5 million. So the player to make way for him, you could argue I could go for a Greenwood or Jota and take those out because they do play this game week. But Greenwood's been really consistent, even against sort of tougher oppositions. He's always up front, always striking the goal. So I do think that he has a potential to score. Same with Jota. He was rested in the Champions League game last night. So it was a case of that he had Firmino starting. He was brought on towards the end, so he only had a few minutes in him. But I do think that he might return for this game against Manchester United. Even though Bobby Firmino did score a hat-trick against Watford, that Watford team was a very, very poor performance from them. So it was more their bad performance than Liverpool's awesome attacking prowess, even though they are very good at scoring goals. And I'm sure that they will continue to score goals throughout the season. But I just think this against the United team, they'll be up for it. They will be obviously pushing a lot harder. Not to say that they're going to keep clean sheets, but both Jota and Greenwood could get a return of some kind, whether it be an assist or a goal. So that leaves me with, I'd like to keep Rafinha and Salah. Benrahma, again, has a decent fixture against Spurs, but I just think that it may be time to get rid of him if you're looking to make a change, just because the fixtures for West Ham only get a little bit more tougher from this place onwards. They have got Europa League football to be mindful of as well, so there may be some minutes managed. So just based on that alone, it's a bit of a hard choice, but I probably would get rid of Benrahma and then bring in Mbeumo. So again, that frees up even more money, where you have 2.8 million left in the bank. And there's a lot that can be done with that. As you can see, I haven't got Trent Alexander-Arnold in this setup. We did get rid of him a few weeks back, but he's someone I can certainly upgrade to, even if that was to get Alonso out, if his minutes are shared with Chilwell. So it's a good option to have that much money in the bank. Again, it could be just to sort out the Obafemi issue in coming game weeks and go to Ivan Toney. But I'm not sure if I'm going to make that move this game week. It would be sort of a decent move, but I just think, again, similarly to that Ivan Toney move, it's across the midfield and attacking options. It's really my defensive lineup that if I'm going to make that second change, I should really go for that and get that more secured. So if I go back to Benrahma, I think the other options that I could potentially look at from a defensive point would be for the Man City players. So if we have a quick look at their team lineups, and you've got Cancelo, Diaz, Laporte, Walker. I think those are the four that are sort of getting the most minutes at the moment. And that's not to say that John Stones couldn't come in for Laporte as a rotation as long as he's back and fit. And also Zinchenko is back now, and he's been on the bench a few times, so I'm sure at some point it's going to see either him and Walker play on either wing, or it could even see Cancelo moved over to the right, Walker get benched, and Zinchenko play on the left. So I think there will be some rotation among them, but I think it just gives another option then. So if you're looking at someone like Alonso, who's going to be constantly rotated out, but you want to keep him in, it might be an option to bring in a Man City player. I am looking at someone like Cancelo. It is another sort of risky defender, but I just think his attacking threat is so high, it's hard to look past him. You could go for someone like Diaz and guarantee yourself some more minutes, as it is always difficult to guarantee players from the Pep Roulette. But I just think Cancelo has got the option there to get you either assists or even a goal, as he showed in a Champions League game last night. So if I was to make this move, it would be Sofal to make way. Again, he's another attacking player and has done decently so far this season, but he's not doing to the same level as Cancelo has. So it probably would be him to make way and bring in Cancelo, which again would leave me with 0.5 still in the bank. And that gives me that extra attacking option. So if I did have 5 midfielders and 2 up front, I could go for Cancelo, Alonso and Azpilicueta. And then if Alonso doesn't play, I would hopefully have either Amati and Duffy coming in for him if Amati does keep his place. And equally then as well, if it does get a rotation round and Cancelo doesn't play, you've both got those two, Duffy and Amati, to come in, not expecting big points for them, but you would hope that they both get some game time. So I think those are the options that I've been looking at. In terms of wants from the Man City team, it would be looking at their attacking options. As I mentioned, I don't think that's where my issues are this game week, but certainly for next week, where that could see someone like Benrahma leave the team and either a Foden, or it could equally be someone like Grealish at a similar price point, come in and have another option there, as Man City's fixtures are about to get really good. You know, they've got Brighton this game week that could put up a bit of a defensive effort against them, so they might not get that big point score. But then next up after that would be Crystal Palace. And then the following game week is Man United, where things get a little bit more difficult. But again, United have slipped goals this season, so I'm not expecting a clean sheet there either. But then you'd look at the next game week after that and Everton come up. And then you've also got West Ham after that. So definitely fixtures where they can score, got lots of goals in. The only issue is obviously minutes across the players there. So if you do go for someone like Foden, you're going to have to expect that there's going to be some rotation, especially now with a few players for them back. I can see here that they've got Gundogan back now. He did get some minutes in the Champions League. Even Torres is out at the moment. But if we check up on when he's due back, so he's due back on the 1st of January, so he's going to be out for a little while yet. But they have got so many options across with Mahrez, Sterling, Bernardo Silva, who's performing really well. Could be a good FPL option, but in past seasons we have seen him do really well, go on a run, people decide to get him in, and then he's benched or not get the amount of minutes that we hoped. He's rotated across playing the Champions League and other cup games. So not always the best in terms of FPL options. So I think for now, if I was to go for a Man City player, it would probably be in a defensive lineup and leaning towards Cancelo. So if I'm going to be honest, this week I might just make the one transfer and hope for that defensive lineup to be able to support my game week and go for Azpilicueta, Alonso and Sofal. But I will keep an eye on the Champions League fixture for Chelsea this week. So tonight, they will be playing. And if Alonso starts, then I'm sort of a little bit more hesitant in that he might not start for the Premier League game as well. So it might be a case of that I could switch him out if I get news Sofal is going to be starting. It's not the ideal scenario to transfer out a Chelsea player before Norwich, but it's a pretty easy switch to Cancelo, which at least then, if I know Sofal is playing, gives me more of a guarantee with Cancelo than it would be for Alonso. So yeah, that's my options this game week. As you mentioned, I'd probably be playing a 3-5-2 formation. I'd probably go for Sanchez in goal, Duffy on the bench along with Amati, and then Obafemi as well on the bench. I know obviously a lot of people are probably going to be looking at those Liverpool, Manchester United players to switch out, but I think they might do okay within this game week. So I'll stick with them for now, but next game week it might be worth switching out for those Man City players that we just mentioned. Aside from that, looking at captaincy, I know Salah has been very, very consistent, and he's more than capable of scoring goals against Manchester United as well, as he's proved he can do it against most teams. But I do think you can't look past, if you've got Lukaku or you're bringing him in this game week, then against that Norwich fixture, he's been playing against some really difficult fixtures in the first game weeks that he started at Chelsea, and he still managed to get 3 returns. I know his strike rate isn't great in terms of shots on target, but he's certainly one that should be able to get some points in this game week. Just something to mention that Tuchel has noted that he's looking a little bit sort of fatigued mentally at the moment, and if it's a case of that he might get a rest in this Norwich game, we'll have to keep an eye out on what Tuchel says, and if he plays in this Champions League game, if he plays the entire game. So just keep an eye out on that one, because obviously if you're looking to bring him in like myself, and he ends up playing a full game and he looks a bit fatigued, they might end up giving him a rest, and maybe playing Havertz or Werner in that sort of 9 position, against a fixture that should be easily winnable for Chelsea on paper. Feel free to leave a comment below about who you think will be vital this week and going forward. If you feel I've missed anyone, put their name below to hear mine and other managers' thoughts. If you like this video, please give it a like and hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell not to miss more content coming soon. Thanks for watching.